Hello, everybody. It's Friday. It's around 1 o'clock where I am, and I'm wondering, is it too early for a drink? Because we saw some historic moves today that were completely crazy. Zeno, Shawnee, TND, K8, everybody, good to see you all. What a day. And by the way, it's not all ugly by no stretch of the imagination. We expected turbulence in Q1 of 2026, and I am relieved to see it. But there are some things that are completely crazy that we have to break down. And we're going to do that today. It's Friday Fire. Ready for the heat, ready for the spice. Coming in hot. IQE Labs, Radrick, Zeno, Shark Lover. Good to see you again. Thank you all for coming. This one's called Market Bloodbath. And it's actually, the title is a little bit scary, but there's lots of bright signs. Not financial advice, as always. And a big thank you to everybody on Patreon. This is from Brandon. Hey, Brandon. Patreon is worth it. I hope so. We only charge to keep the scammers out, so that's good. Anyway, sentiment and signals. Wow. Crypto, after all that happened today, is actually holding up really well. And the fear and greed is always like a lagging indicator. It's now 16. It should have been 16 like on Wednesday, not today. Anyhow, stonks are 55. I wish there was a fear and greed for precious metals. That would be fun. Like the needle would break, you know, the meme. Anyway. On. Let's get into Bitcoin and crypto and see what's going on there. Literally, things are not as bad as they may appear. There are some bad things, but not really cataclysmic. You can't make this up as well. Bitcoin is down 4.20% so far in January. The numbers make themselves up, not me. No, anyway, the real numbers. 4.2% is not that bad, considering what we saw today, which we'll get to in a minute. However, the ETF flows still suck. The Bitcoin ETFs lost $1 billion this week. Pretty well, 978 million to be precise. They are bleeding out. That's 2 nasty red weeks in a row. Not good. ETH ETFs, not as bad as Bitcoin, but still 74 million out. And Solana ETFs still positive. 8.8 million in, reading the wrong number. And the Sol price, as we speak, is hanging in there. Again, it was way worse 2 days ago than today. Anyhow, all we can see is bleeding, but thank goodness Tom Lee is here to give us comfort. And ETH Unicorn says, can you sort out Bitminer share price, please, Tom? Most of retail are down 50%. And Tom Lee says, we feel your pain, my friend. Keep stacking and hodl. We provide frequent fundamental updates on why Ethereum is the future of finance. I still have a problem with that. And nothing against ETH, but it's too slow to be the future. The future will run at 40 milliseconds and at millions of transactions per second. ETH isn't there by any stretch of the imagination, and it may never even get there. So that's just where I have a problem. To be the future of finance, you need to be fast. If you want to debate me one day, Tom, let's go. 2 Wharton guys at each other. That'd be fun. Anyway, let's get into SaaS software. This is in the wrong category, by the way. They should be in stocks, but I don't know how this happened. But the SaaS software meltdown continues. This is because AI, they should be in the AI section. AI is eating SaaS alive. Anyway, we'll get that out of the way. And shout out to James Easton in the UK. He talks about how liquidity is ripping and Bitcoin is dipping. Not his words, my words. Hope he doesn't mind my poetic license. But typically, again, we'll say this, and we said it for a lot of 2025. Rising tide floats all boats. When there's more liquidity in the world, it brings everything up. But there are things cracking now to show that the world is a house of cards. I was actually going to call this video House of Cards, but I didn't. Bloodbath, I thought it was more appropriate. But it is a house of cards. And we'll get to why in a minute, too. Either way, liquidity is out there, and it's growing fast, which is good. And dollar index, as it could be in the macro section or the Bitcoin section, but it's below 97 every time the Dixie falls below 97 since 2016, 2015. Bitcoin rallies. Now, when it falls below 97, it can go lower. It can go all the way to 93, 90 in some cases. But that's when the Bitcoin rally begins. Okay, people lose confidence in the dollar and they pump it into Bitcoin. But remember, Bitcoin's denominated in dollars, so that could also explain the fact that it goes up. When the dollar goes down, Bitcoin goes up. Either way, it should go up. So we got multiple things still pointing for it to go up. And we're seeing it hold up relatively strong today, considering the bloodbath in other markets, which oh my goodness, is this wrong? No, I wasn't refreshed. My trading view wasn't refreshed for a second. But Bitcoin's 84 too. Only lost $300 over the last 24 hours. Not bad at all. Now, there is a little bit of bad news, and that's regarding the Bitcoin miners. So it's actually good news if you are a Bitcoin miner, but it's a bad news for the security of the system as a whole. From Charles Edwards, this is his little chart of the Bitcoin miner cost. Production cost has collapsed to 69K. It was 102,000 about 2 months ago. Now it's 69,000. And guess what? 69,000 is complement with the price of Bitcoin at the time of the last presidential election. That was the 4th or 5th of November of 2024. That typically is a floor for the bear, but we never really had a bull, so maybe we won't have a bear either. Who knows? But that's just Bitcoin. But the point is, when you look at this chart here, it has tanked off a cliff. The electrical cost about $55,000, despite the fact that electricity is going up in value. But anyway, this could sometimes people believe that the Bitcoin price follows the production cost. So, for example, if Bitcoin's at 80K, production costs 102,000, the price will go to 102K. And the corollary sometimes is true, some people believe. So if the cost of production is 69K, that means the cost could fall there. I'm not sure that's the case, but just sharing the news anyway. Let's get into markets, because this is where things get a bit crazy. First of all, MicroStrategy NAV premium is near the 2022 bear market low. And I remember those days. It was a delicious time to be alive. Down at the 0.72x, 28% discount to their bag. We're now 0.79x. So we're getting close, real close to the bottom, the capitulation bottom. This is potentially good value for money, not financial advice at this level. And the biggest losers ever in one day in history, because we'll talk about even bigger losses today. But this is a table from Bloomberg, and it shows you the biggest stock loss, market cap loss in one day, $593 billion for NVIDIA on the 27th of January, 2025. It's exactly a year ago, by the way. And, you can always expect Januaries to be bumpy. That's why you have cash. Socking cash since summer last year for this exact moment to get some deals. Get your trap set, my friends. Microsoft yesterday, second worst day in history, nearly $360 billion. Apple 311 way back when, and that was April, tariff tantrums, etc. Nvidia, Meta, Apple, etc. But what's amazing to me about this is the sheer size of the amount of losses. It just shows you how much money there is sloshing around in the system. One company can lose nearly $500 billion, $500 billion in a day. We're just talking trillions. We're throwing around trillions. When I was a kid, the ambition one day was to get 1 million of something, 1 million. And then all of a sudden, 1 million's not worth much anymore. And now it's billions. And now billions aren't even anything. It's all trillions. And soon it'll be 100 trillion. And then it'll be a quadrillion and on from there. Anyway, speaking of flushing money down the toilet and the fact that there's so much money slushing around, Meta, write down $88 billion in their metaverse. It's lost $19.2 billion in 2025. $88 billion flushed down the virtual drain, down the toilet. Now, get ready. They're going to put $135 billion into AI. And the price still goes up. I don't know. They have you always look at track records. And I know people, for some reason, like things called Facebook. I don't understand it myself. By the way, a quick reminder, I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I'm only on two social platforms, Patreon and X. That's it. So if anybody reaches out to you on any of these platforms, it's not me. Remember that. It's quite simple. Anyway, that's the metaverse. Bye-bye. Now, time for AI. this is interesting. The world is buzzing about Dyson swarms, which are basically large solar energy capturers around the sun. And everybody's locked in for Kardashev 2 and all this space talk is happening. But the big news over the last 24 hours is SpaceX in talks to merge with xAI, which owns X before the IPO. Again, as I said yesterday briefly, we know SpaceX is worth probably $1.5 trillion. xAI should be worth $800 billion. That's putting it on par with OpenAI, but I think it's superior. But it's only valued at $300 billion or $220 or $240. But combined, they should be worth at least $1.8 trillion. And that will be by far the biggest IPO in the history of the planet. So get ready. The world's about to get really crazy. And the world is moving very fast. One thing I do want to reiterate is this AI revolution is making things happen incredibly fast in the planet. Really, really, really fast. We'll talk about stuff happening fast right now. As you know from this channel, I talk about risk happening fast for years. But I've never seen anything like this for a metal in my entire life. 36 years of being obsessed with markets. This is silver falling at one stage 33% in one day. And some interesting stuff. Shout out to Tom B as well. Tom Billieu. For decades, silver has been paper traded just like gold, but the ratio of paper silver to real silver is 356 to 1. Okay, and China exposed this bank run by imposing export controls on 70% of the world's silver supply, and that's what caused the spike. But like anything else, somebody somewhere is holding a bag of paper that's actually worth nothing. Will never be backed by silver because there simply isn't enough silver on the planet. Now, the reason we care about this is because of all of you who have things like Bitcoin, after seeing what happened with silver and people understanding that it's just a bunch of paper ghosts, that's what fiat is, but even worse than silver. Fiat is backed by nothing. Silver, at least, is backed by some paper and 1/365th of actual real silver. Fiat is not, not at all. So there'll come a day when people realize that fiat is not backed by anything. Just say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna give you value of that, no problem." Down the line, it's crazy, but that is trillions gone. Now, gold tanked 7 trillion since Wednesday in market cap. Went down from nearly $42 trillion down to $34 trillion. Crazy. The interesting stat for me is that is 4.3 times the entire Bitcoin market cap wiped out in 48 hours. Poof. This is the theme of this video is just, first, how much money there is sloshing around the system. And second, how it can be vaporized in seconds. Absolutely crazy. Again, if it was 6 p.m. and I was here with you, I'd probably be drinking a glass of wine because it's mad. So I decided to find out what's going on with gold. And I go to the World Gold Council website and I got an error 404. They can't even keep their website up. Anyway, moving on. A little bit of sad news too. Nayib Bukele was very proud just yesterday of his big gold buy. And I do say as well, timing is everything in the markets. But don't just jump big in one fell swoop. Move in layers. Don't just blow your load. $50 million of gold yesterday. But that's what they did. And then, boom. Not good. Anyway, we'll see what happens next. That would be very, very bad timing. Their DCA on Bitcoin has been phenomenal, by the way. But gold, they need to take a page out of their Bitcoin DCA book. Now, other stuff, rattling markets, a whole bunch of stuff, rattling markets. If this was the good, the bad, and the ugly on Tuesday, it'd be all bad and ugly. But the PPI runs hot. It's also spooking markets. The irony is inflation hedges are suffering the biggest tankage ever. Silver, again, 34% down. Gold down 13%. Trillions wiped out in hours. And the PPI comes in hot at 3% when they're expecting 2.7%, which means the CPI will run hot as well. The core, I think, was 3.3. And the reason the markets are rattled, it's all meaningless BS anyway. They measure it incorrectly. But when the markets see this, they think, oh, the Fed's not going to cut rates, which they have priced in for the year. And that's why the market does silly things. Anyway, it's just all nonsense at the end of the day. Speaking of nonsense, the US government's going to shut down again. It just reopened a few months ago. This is also rattling markets. And now it's going to close down. And by the way, nothing really happens except you can't get into a park with your children or something. But the odds of a shutdown are now 83% on Poly Market. That is going to close down tomorrow. Now, what that does, and the reason we care, is that tightens up liquidity because people aren't getting paid. Therefore, they don't have money to YOLO into meme coins and gold and silver and all that good stuff. And that dries things up. It puts a bit of a dampener on markets. So expect some volatility next week and the week after. And I wonder will we get a new record government shutdown, but something about whatever, some party doesn't want to fund the DHS. I don't even know what that is. Maybe they mail packages like the DHL, or maybe they do Homeland Security. I'm not sure. Homeland Security, is it? Something like that. Anyway, moving on. And there is a new government official. I wonder, is he going to get paid? He's not in the job yet, but this is a guy called Kevin Warsh. He's going to get the job for Fed chair. He's going to replace Jerome Powell, who I must say, like everybody else, we've all been mocking him for being late, being wrong, being clueless, not doing anything with 420 PhDs every single meeting. It's all a joke. It's like all things government are a joke. I can't wait for AI to take over government. I know it's very controversial to say that, but anyway, back to this guy, Kevin Walsh, why I care. He's good. He's clever. He's young. He likes Bitcoin. He likes data. He likes AI, and he believes AI can grow GDP. He also believes, I think he believes AI is deflationary. I hope he does. If he understands AI, he understands that. And he likes cutting rates. And the reason I talk about cutting rates is these are the odds of how many rate cuts he will have. 46% chance he'll take us down to 2.5% rates, and a 36% chance under 2.5%. That will be great for the markets, great for risk assets, great for investment, great for real estate. Again, the more rates go down, the more your assets go up, and money printing is happening at the same time. Plus, Kevin Warsh in bed with Scott Bessent will be a great team because they're both aligned for the first time ever in years. And sadly, final piece of ugly news, the US long-term unemployment is surging. This is pretty bad. This is the number of Americans unemployed for 15 plus weeks. It's now up to 3.1 million. And that's the highest since early COVID in 2020. And that's not good. So a lot of people have been looking for a job for a long time. And this is, there's a lot of theories as to why this is. I think if you watch this channel, you know why it is too. Anyway, finishing with meme du jour. Shout out to Ocean JJ. So you wanted to try leveraging commodities, and that has been rough. Some degen bet $36 million on shorting silver at about 110, 112, fell down to 108, and shot up to 112, 113, got nervous, closed his short at a loss of about, I think, $6 million. If he had the gumption to hold, he probably would have been liquidated at 122 anyway. But if he had less leverage, less than 10x, and held, he would have made a blinder today. He would have made at least $200 million. So again, more money flashing in the system. Enjoy the money flashing in the system. I hope you all enjoyed the show. I want to thank everybody for coming. Big thank you once again to the best mods in the world. Sean D, T&D, if you're there. Don't see T&D. Friday, she's down the pub, where we all should be after a day like today. IQE Labs, Roderick, K8, Zeno, Shark Lover, DBF 430, Piper up there in Canada, Kashi, Soul Strider, and Halia Kela in Hawaii. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night, my friends. See you soon. Bye.